Hello Chassos, welcome to another video where we're going to be talking about the planes that I took to Masters and how they performed. And after you watch this, if you're incredibly excited to get your planes on the table and you want to do a little bit of meta chasing, because obviously I set the meta, and you're an Australian, you can do so at the cheapest price possible at our sponsor R&R Hobbies. There is a link in the description where you can use code Pantheon to take their already generous 21% off GW prices up to an enormous 26%. All of the items will be listed as back ordered. That is perfectly normal. You order from them, they order for you from GW and pass the saving on while shipping it out to you as soon as humanly possible. All right, so how did the planes go? Now, unfortunately, I had a smaller subset because I was not able to attend day 2 of Masters. I did well on day 1, and I didn't drop because of any tournament-related reasons. I was just literally dying because I am missing parts of my spine, and I have my good days, I have my bad days, and this was a very, very, very bad day. But having said that, I came out of this 2-1. Now, you might think 2-1, okay, yeah, whatever. But this was at Masters. This was a tournament where I was surrounded by nothing but people that are as good at the game as I am, or potentially in a few instances better than me. There are a number of very, very good players in New South Wales, and this tournament represented the sharkiest of the sharks. This tank was something where you couldn't even move because of all the sharks bumping into you and shit. So let's talk through their performance, the things I liked, the things I didn't, and whether I would recommend them to all of you beautiful chassos out there. So my 3 games, I went against Astra Militarum, I went against Tactical Brigade Orcs, and I went against Blood Angels. Now, Blood Angels is the matchup that I lost. Went against a player called Kirby, who was a previous Team New South Wales captain. Very, very great player, and had a wonderful game against him, as I always do, though unfortunately this was in round 3, and I was deteriorating at an extreme rate. And to beat a player like Kirby, you've got to beat your best. You cannot go into it barely able to think. But in each of these matchups, the planes represented something which I was very, very happy with. And while I may not play another tournament on the planes anytime soon, that is not to say that they were bad, just that they were brought for a very specific purpose at this tournament. And I want to talk about a few of those things here. So the first thing that I will say, and this was a very, very big positive, my opponents had to spend a lot of time playing around those planes. In fact, there is a game on stream that you can see on the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network's YouTube channel. It's game 2 of day 1, where I'm playing against the Tactical Brigade Orcs, and the Orcs player spent an inordinate amount of time trying to get my plane to fly off the board, and that actually came back to bite him, where ran out of time, and then without doing that would have had some opportunities to go and get primary and everything else. The planes really weren't scary enough to that Tactical Brigade Orc player to validate the time investment that he needed to put in. Now, on the other side of this, nobody wants a plane flying over and just free firing onto everything that can't fly and is getting the +1 to hit. And this is kind of why I love them, because you shouldn't spend a whole lot of time playing around them, but if you ignore them, you're also giving them free run of the board and allowing the Tau player to do what they want to do. So that was a very, very big tick up in favor of the planes, where the psychological aspect that I wanted to bring them for definitely played a role. I also, against the Blood Angels matchup, would have had a very, very awesome play. The infiltrators that I was able to see on his backfield that he completely forgot to factor in for the planes, outside of some very, very, very bad rolling on my part, would have picked up the infiltrators on his backfield and made it so that he did not control his main source of primary. That would have been a crippling blow. Now, would Kirby have still won the game? Very likely, yes. But in a matchup where I am at my best, I'm able to pay attention to the map as I should be, and I'm not rapidly deteriorating from pain, that could have been a death blow in a game that was closer. And to be clear, I didn't lose to Kirby by much. This was still a close game. So even as good a player as Kirby is, forgot about the plane flying over and being able to see him, regardless of bases and around walls and all that sort of stuff, and potentially pick up a primary source of primary, and one that he was counting on, the infiltrators not being able to have anybody deep strike within 12, blankets out a large amount of the back of the board, and we were on the burn primary mission. So it meant that my Vespid would have been able to go over there and burn his home objective at the end of the game. Now, another big thing in the Razorsharks' favor was that the output was exactly what I was looking for. Now, one of the big things about this is that the planes don't care about bases. You can be on the other side of a base from a plane and not be touching it, and any other model, aside from towering, wouldn't be able to see you. Planes don't care about that. They draw true line of sight. So the only thing that protects you is a solid wall. Now, what that meant is that there were, especially in the Orcs and Astra Militarum matchup, there were a bunch of staging points that I just removed from the game that they could not use anymore because I was able to just see straight down into them. Now, this also draws into one of the downsides that I'd identified early on and that I was ready for but wasn't super impressed by, was the Tau guiding mechanic. And if you don't have something that can go and see the target that the planes have, then you've got a less efficient model, especially with the presence of cover. Your missile pods are only AP1. Your ions are AP2. If the person's got cover and they can pop something like AOC, Armor of Contempt, -1 AP for that activation, then you're on AP0. This really came up in the Blood Angels matchup where those Sangard were on a 2-up armor save, meaning that these 3 wound models with a 2-up armor save and a 4-up invuln didn't care about the invuln. They were just on that 2-up, and oh, look at that, I made all of my saves. So that is definitely something to consider when you're thinking about taking these planes. If there are a bunch of things in the meta that are things like Grey Knights, Sanguinary Guard, that sort of stuff that are on the 2-up armor save, or Custodes, another perfect example, and you're not confident you will be able to get guiding models into positions where they can see them, then that's probably a time to leave the planes at home. The other thing that needs to be stated is this was 340 points that couldn't play the game for me. They can't get primary, they can't do secondary objectives. They are only there as damaging pieces. Now, while I was able to make them work, that was definitely a downside that I was ready for, but that I think in another set of tournaments at this sort of level, I probably wouldn't take them again. Now, the invariable question comes up, would I take the Sunshark bombers in their place? They're 10 points less expensive. They fly over and do mortal wounds, that sort of stuff. I think that they definitely do have play, though the Razorsharks +1 to hit came up in a lot of games where even if I didn't have guiding, they were still hitting on 3s, and that was really, really nice. I think that one of the things that I would like to do is tech a list that has a bit more fast Kroot, maybe another unit of Kroot Hounds, stuff like that, so that I can have them run and pop a wall so that they get the extra -1 AP, and then they're at AP3 for the majority of their shooting, and it means that cover doesn't really mean as much. Now, the invariable thing that we get to, should you pick up these planes? Well, the answer is not a simple one. I, as somebody who has never had a lot of money, do not recommend anybody just go out and panic buy something based on any position in the meta. I do not think these are good enough in the meta for you to rush out and try and buy them and include them into your list. But if you already have them, I would highly recommend giving them a try at your local scene. Into armies like Genestealer Cults, Astra Militarum, a whole bunch of other armies that don't have really outstanding saves, these guys were really, really great. They were able to get damage down exactly where I needed it and cut the head off the snake before it was ready to come out and do significant damage to me. And in terms of detachments, I still think that Oxcat is the one that you want to play these guys in. Kaoyun could be an option, having them later on with sustained hits too. It is a very nice extra bit of efficiency on top of them. But mostly I've found having the Kroot able to give them extra AP, and also for the points investment, having the Kroot as objective holders, making people step out and keeping my high quality shooting safe, that was a big part of the game plan that led to what, if I was at my best, could have been a 3-0 day one. And me saying that is absolutely not to take anything away from Kirby. He is an excellent player. And even if I was at my best, there is a good to moderate chance that I did not beat him. One thing I will say is that I think our flyers are in a better position than a lot of other factions have at the moment. And I think that's really cool. Even though we won't see them in a lot of meta lists, they at least are playable, whereas you talk to a lot of people from other factions, there's no world where they consider their flyers. But the Sunshark bombers, being able to do some of the mortals as they fly over, they still have a 6-shot ion gun, which is pretty good. They have the missile pod, which you can take twin-linked. They have the 2 Seeker missiles that were really good from an anti-tank perspective from these 2 flyers. We have options that a lot of other factions don't. And I would love to play a tournament with the Sunshark bombers, and maybe that is the thing that I will do after I finish cheating on Tau with Eldari. That said, it's unlikely that I'm going to be hitting any events anytime soon. As I said, my son is due to be born in 2 days. If you would like to be there with us for, well, not the birth, but the introduction afterwards in the hospital, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And while you're down there, leave a comment as to what you think about the flyers, what you would like to see changed, or a list idea that you've got that would make them particularly good. And also, as I said at the start of the video, R&R Hobbies is the sponsor for this video. They have been an amazing partner. Use code Pantheon to get 26% off GW prices at their website. Thank you very much to all of my patrons who make all of my videos possible. If you would like to join them, join us in the Discord and get access to behind the scenes content, then head to either YouTube membership or links in the description, patreon.com/Pantheon Studios Australia, and join at the $5 tier or higher. Once you're in the Discord, you're in for life. Unless you do something shitty and I have to kick you out. But that hasn't happened yet. I'm very happy about that. I'm really, really glad that Tau has access to a number of different units. I look at something like Grey Knights where they have a very skinny codex or index, and it makes it so that if they're not particularly good in the meta, they don't have a ton of options. We are kind of spoiled for choice, especially with Auxiliary Carter, because it allows us to put in so many different parts from the book, and I think that is really, really wonderful. No matter what else we might think, having options is always a good thing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.